The world is saved. The living room's dark save for light being cast from the big TV screen and the imminent sunrise that's teasing the once starry sky with whispers of morning.
Hey George, how are you?
So far, so good, but the night is, well, waning, actually. So, it's been good, so I'm going to just stick with that. How about yourself?
Yeah, there's no reason to get into details. Nobody actually cares.
Yeah, no, I mean, at least of all me.
Certainly. So we've been doing pretty good so far, I think. I've mostly been able to get to whatever game we were going to play and like kind of space it out a little bit. And I just had some weird work stuff happen, and I did all of my playthrough today.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
So it's very fresh for you.
Super fresh.
Yeah, no, mine I did a few days back, so it's a little bit, I mean, I've got my notes, but it's a little bit less fresh for me. But I know that we try to like play for like a minimum amount of time, and I did not make it to the minimum because I exhausted the content that I could access with my level of skill. So
Okay.
so I like played. So and we'll get into that later. But yeah, I played. I was like, I've played everything that I can play, and then I tried to play some of the other stuff and just brick wall. And I was just kind of like, well, this is all the content that I can access.
That's fair. You meet the what is it? The spirit of the law, but not the letter. You're fine.
Yeah.
Let's see. So this time we played Super Mario Kart, the original. So Super Nintendo version came out in the States in 1992, which is kind of staggering to me because this game was like such a constant in my childhood. Like I just remember it being there.
Yeah. No, I mean, like it's definitely one that I again, like with Super Mario, that I don't remember a time when it wasn't a part of my life. That being said, as like a full disclosure kind of thing, is that I do remember this game and I remember playing this game. However, the game I was in my mind like over like supplanting this was Super Mario 64 or Mario Kart 64, right?
Yeah.
So like I remembered playing this game, but I was just kind of like, oh yeah, well you can do thing A. Oh man, I guess that must have happened in the 64 version. But you can do thing B. Nope, that came into the 64 version. All of a sudden, like, so I tried my best to not let me that color my playthrough of the game, but it was tough.
Yeah. So I realized playing through this that this is my Mario Kart, right? Like, I think it's kind of like everybody has their own, like their doctor, like whichever doctor they came into Doctor Who with is probably the one they like the most, or it's the one that had like their favorite companion or whatever. I think for a lot of people, it's especially people our age, the 64 Mario Kart is their Mario Kart.
Yes.
And then for Susan, hers is like the Wii one, like Mario Kart Wii, which is good. But I mean, by then things had changed like a whole bunch.
Yes.
But I'm surprised how many things were like set in stone from the original Super Mario Kart, like that just continued for the entire franchise.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I definitely thought we can get into it more later. I thought that like it's all there, but it's like I don't want to say fragmented, but it's more like it's all there, but it's not really cohesive yet. Like it's like
comparatively unpolished.
Right, it's certainly that, and I think that as Tycho I think says ever so eloquently is that everybody needs an older version to cling to for dear life and a newer version to revile with all of their heart. And so 64 is my D&D 3.5. Like it is. That is definitely my game. But so and like I said, I did play the SNES version just for hours and hours and hours, but it's like one of those things where like when like sometimes like current friends will supplant people you don't talk to anymore and like memories and stuff. Like it was like that, where I was just kind of like, yeah, I remember sitting down and playing this and doing that. And oh yeah, no, wait, all of that was in the 64 version. I remember this too now. Huh.
Yeah. As a longtime friend of yours, I'm not sure how comfortable I am with this metaphor.
Oh yeah, no, it's really bizarre because like what will happen is, you'll be like, oh yeah, remember when we did thing A and thing B? And it's like, we never did that. It's like, oh yeah, that was this other person I don't talk to anymore. Meh.
There's this other person that I wasn't willing to give up the memories of, but the actual person can go in the bin. Just screw them.
Yeah, so, human mind, fickle thing.
So I do have a specific story for Super Mario Kart that I want to share with you, just because it's really super dumb. So I was probably in 4th grade. I was at my best friend's house, and he was a twin. So him and his twin brother shared a room, and then the other siblings had their own rooms. And we were playing Mario Kart, but his brother wanted to go to bed. So we turned the sound all the way down and then just sat in silence side by side playing Mario Kart until like 4 a.m. Which is weird because like when you describe that event, it sounds completely insane. But when you're a kid and you just want to keep playing video games, you're like, no, this is normal.
Yeah, this is totally fine. Yeah, no, it's like, yeah. Like the drug addict who's just kind of like, no, it's totally fine. I just smoke from time to time, like out back. I just smoke from time to time in my house. Just smoke from time to time, like as I'm going to bed, reading a book. And it's like at some point, this became a crippling addiction and was no longer recreational. And at some point, when you're like in a room with another unconscious human, desperately playing a video game, that maybe flirting with that line.
Yeah, this is how we found out his brother talks in his sleep. So we're sitting there in, total silence because we wanted to let him sleep. We didn't want to bother him. And then we start hearing like murmuring. And after literally 7 or 8 hours of nonstop Mario Kart, this was the thing that made us like pause the game and go look into what this situation was. And he was just babbling. I mean, just, dumb crap, just like babbling nonsense in his sleep. But it was kind of like, in Avenue Q when right before Rod's like fantasy dream.
Oh, I know. Put my earmuffs on the cookie.
Yeah, it was that like kind of dumb nonsense, like exactly the kind of picturesque crap you would imagine someone would say when they talk in their sleep. Apparently, some people actually do that. But like when I boot up the game and I'm sitting in front of it, like I'm taken back to that night. Like every time nice. I think of the original Super Mario Kart, I'm like, I wonder where they are now.
He's probably just off somewhere, unconscious, talking to himself in his sleep because.
That's how I'll always remember him.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you saw him, like he's probably like a CEO of like some Fortune 500 company, and like you see him, like oh hey, I know that guy. He talks in his sleep,
and he talks
doesn't
about
matter.
Fudge rounds and star crunches.
So visuals. What did you think of the visuals?
So I was probably 3 seconds into the very first map when I went, whoa, that mode 7 thing does not hold up well.
Mode 7?
So you will know this as soon as I describe it, but you probably have just never heard the name for it. So one of the things that made Super Nintendo, revolutionary at the time is that it had these different graphics modes. And that's why certain games look wildly different because they use one mode more than another, and they use, whatever, depending on different, like, is it overhead or is it side scrolling or whatever. So mode 7 is the mode in which the background can be rotated and squashed and stretched. So technically the character on screen actually doesn't move. The map moves around you. And and this was like F-Zero played the same way, and like the overmap on like most of the Final Fantasies was the same way. But in the Final Fantasy games, you're not moving at like 1,000 miles an hour, so you don't notice like how bad it is, but like if you are playing Mario Kart and you look up from your character to the horizon, the pixels are freaking out. Like because they're just trying to like squash and stretch so fast, and like the draw distance is incredibly limited because they're working with these very simple pixels. So I mean, it didn't make the game unplayable, and most of the time you're looking so tight, like right at your character, that you don't really look at the horizon that much. But man, it's disorienting.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. And again, I think that this is a game where we have to distinguish between the visuals of like yes, I always knew like what I was looking at, and you know, like the colors were there and all that sort of stuff. But then like how the visuals represent the way you are interacting with the universe around you, I didn't find it wasn't like terrible. Like I didn't know where I was, but there were some times where I was just kind of like, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen next. Like I remember one in particular is it's one of the Bowser levels where like you hit like several jumps in quick succession, right?
Oh yeah, I want to say that's the Star Cup one.
It is. It's the Star Cup, and I think it's like round 3. This is by the way my threshold of skill on this game. This was the last round that I played because I lost all of my lives because I could not get my stuff together to play it. But anyways, so yeah, so like I kept like jump, and then I'd like just barely angle wrong or something like that, and then like clip the side of like the level, and then it's blam into the lava. and it only takes you doing that once or twice before you are like inexorably lost, and you know, you're just kind of like, well, that's game. And so yeah, so I definitely felt that was an issue a number of times.
So the thing that's weird about that is I feel like that's the only level where I consistently am not clear on where I'm going to land and where the collision box is. And I don't know if that level's actually designed poorly or if they made it like that on purpose to make it feel like it's screwing with you. But I mean, like all of the other levels, like if I hit a wall, I was like, yup, I definitely hit that wall. And outside of the Bowser levels, the only thing that I felt like the Mode 7 map made not totally clear is there were a couple times where like fully 3 of my tires went over an item box and I got no item. I was just like, come on. Like, I totally hit that thing.
Yeah. And there's also and I'm not sure, like I don't believe I could represent it as well as you did, like, because I don't know the different modes, the different technology, all that sort of stuff. But it did seem to me like a lot of the times that when a bad guy would be coming up behind me to like pass me, that I would be totally fine. And then he would come blazing out of nowhere and like Mad Max style, just like slam into me and like sometimes slam me like off to my death, you know, or to the point where Lake 2 like takes you out of the lava and robs you a little bit. Whatever.
He does rob you a little bit. It's kind of like when you beat a kid in Pokemon. It's like you got to take a little bit of their money. Yeah,
which reframes that whole thing. You know, it's just kind of like, and yeah. So basically, you know what it is he's AAA. You know, and
you got to pay.
You got to pay AAA, man. I mean, like he's got to feed his little lake tots. You know, and whatever.
Lakatots.
Carries, but yeah. So like I said, it just seemed that, you know, as far as my ability to plan around people coming up from behind me, I just never really had too many visual cues of like this person's about to come, you know, jack me from behind. You know.
Yeah. I guess I probably should have asked you. Like, surely you didn't just go through the roster. You have your go-to driver, which is.
You know, my go-to driver back in the day was Yoshi. Like, I rocked Yoshi, but this time it was actually Bowser. Surprisingly, yeah.
You dig that slow acceleration, high top speed thing?
Apparently, because and again, you know, like I said, all of this was just kind of new to me because, you know, like I said, for 64, it's probably still Yoshi. You know, but. Yeah, man. I mean, like when I was playing as Bowser, I was winning handily. And I was like, really? And when I played as Yoshi, I would win, but not by a substantive margin.
Yeah, I think so. I kind of mentioned like a lot of things got set in stone. So let me back off the visuals for just a second. Like, this game had you responded differently on different road surfaces. So
Hmm.
the ice level and the dirt level and the actual racetrack level, like you handle noticeably different, right?
Right.
The different 8 drivers have slightly different characteristics. They weren't as pronounced as they were in some of the later games, but like some of them have better handling, some of them have slower acceleration but a higher top speed, some of them have faster acceleration but a lower top speed. So depending on your driving style, you may actually benefit more from one driver than another. So like I'm not a great driver. So like I always drive Koopa Troopa because he handles the best.
Mm.
And like if you're Bowser or Donkey Kong Jr. and you hit a wall, like, well, it's going to take you another hour and a half to get up to speed. So
Yeah.
like you cannot be the kind of person who bumps into crap if you want to play as one of those drivers.
Yeah. And that was the thing is that what I did was I intentionally went through, I played as Yoshi, Mario, Bowser, and one other one. But I tried to get like, because I remembered it being split up into like lightweights, medium weights, and like heavyweights, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let me try one of each. And the one I was the most successful with was Bowser. But I would not say that I was successful with any of them. I was just the most successful with Bowser.
Least unsuccessful.
Yes. Yeah. Bowser was my D minus, like Bart Simpson's D minus. Like I didn't get held back a grade when I played as Bowser.
So did you then, like, how far did you get?
So what happened was I played through the Mushroom Cup at 50 cc's, right?
Okay.
And then I played through the Fire Cup at 100 cc's and got really frustrated. and I think like it was the Boo Castle in the Mario Cup where I just died all 4,000 times. I think you are allowed 3 like repeats, but it felt like 3,000. So I was like, okay, I just apparently can't do the 100 cc. Like it's too much, whatever it is. Right. So I dropped it back down to 50 cc and then I did the Fire Cup and the Star Cup. And on the Star Cup, I got to that Bowser level and then blew through all of my lives. And I was like, this is the extent of my skill with this game. This is all I have. And that's, you know what, that's fine. Cause I felt like I feel like I've gotten the feel for the controls, the visuals, like everything that we're going to discuss. But I was like, I can go back and replay some of the stuff that I played, but like, especially because you do get those extra lives. I played that same level and was getting hung up on the same stuff every time. I'd be like, well, maybe this time I'm going to get punched in the mouth. Okay, so no, don't do that. Don't do that. But what if I get punched in the mouth? Okay, so what I could do though is get punched in the mouth again. I was like, you know what? Apparently all of my instincts are to just fling my face as hard as I can into this person's fist. So how about you?
So in the time that I had to play, because I played some earlier today, and then I sat down actually like literally before we started recording to play some more. I went through the 50 cc and just like 100% at everything. Just
nice.
First place every race, first time, all the way through the Mushroom, Fire Flower, and Star Cup, and I was just like, okay, but this is like baby mode, right? Like 100cc won't be that easy. And then I didn't 100% everything on 100cc, but I did take first place. So like I had like one race where I took second or something. Right. But you still like, because you get like 9, 6, 3, 1, and 0 coins. Yeah. So you can still take first even if you don't take first all of them. Right. And so then I got through all of 100cc, including the Special Cup. And that one, so on Rainbow Road, I got like seriously jacked on the last lap and then just barely eked out a 4th place finish, which means I didn't lose a life and I did not want to fucking play that level again. So it's just like all I care about is that I still got my first place finish and now I can do like 150cc. So I was like, I have time to do one 150cc just to see if I can take a first place win in 150, and I did the very first track on the Mushroom Cup and got first, and I was like, okay. Because I got first by like 100th of a second.
Right.
So I was like, okay, this is where my skill level has somehow maintained itself over the intervening 2 decades.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's again, I think that my main struggle was that it's not the 64 version. So like, but it's close enough that I kept trying to play it like the 64 version.
Yeah.
And like, so, and I don't even know. So like in this one, when you like, if you're making like a hard left, right? If you jump and then make the hard left, you don't go into a power skid like you would in the 64 version.
Well, so I should mention, just so you don't fall too down the analogy hole, I went the PlayStation route when it came time to pick that next generation. So to me, the 64 version is like not even a blip. Like I maybe played it 2 or 3 times. I played Double Dash a lot because I had a friend who had a GameCube, later. But yeah, the 64 version went almost completely unremarked for me.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, is that like I kept trying to play it like it was the 64 version and just getting wildly frustrated because there are a bunch of things that the 64 version put into place that this didn't seem to have, so I just kept being like it's just, what it was? It was the emotional equivalent of every, 30 seconds walking down a flight of stairs and thinking that there's one more stair when there isn't one more stair. Like that's what it was it was just constantly like, yeah, I'm going to, oh my God. Oh no, wait, it's fine. I'm still alive. That didn't work the way I anticipated though. No, yeah, okay, no, wait, that doesn't work the way you anticipate. George, focus. This doesn't work the same way. And so just over and over and over again, and many times to my ultimate death, So again, like I said, like that's why I'm full disclosure, not 100% objective in this particular case.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Because I think it's still, it shows the direction that evolution went in, because you could probably go back and play like Double Dash or Mario Kart Wii or Mario Kart Wii 8, I think is the newest one, and not really have that big of a problem because all of those built on the 64 version.
Right.
But like, so, you get off at like the lobby, but I know about the sub basement
where like all the behind the scenes stuff happens. And you've just, yeah. So overall though, to go back to the visuals, I think that the visuals were at or near expectations. I didn't really think about the fact that, the universe is moving around you. I think that's kind of cool because isn't that like what physicists think could potentially make us move faster than the speed of light or something?
It's how the ship in Futurama flies.
Yeah. So then there you go. So, like I like that. I like, it's like, no. So because then theoretically, as you're driving your cart isn't some like podunk, go-kart. What it is it's like a differential engine that moves the universe. Right. So yeah, I mean, that actually makes me feel a lot more powerful when I play the game as opposed to, just thinking around in a go-kart.
Yeah. It's not some little stupid lawnmower. Like, you're God.
Yeah. And everything else is a plaything. And I will say too, on another personal note, that there's driving an actual car, Mario Kart, and then below that, like actual go-karting, because once I used to love go-karting as a kid, and then I actually got to be able to drive, and then people were like, let's go go-karting, and I was like, I don't see the draw of this anymore. Like bumper carts I still like, because when you do that in a car, you go to jail.
Yeah, typically, yes.
Yeah, unless it's what are the derbies, the demolition derby.
Yeah, demolition derby. Yep.
Yeah. but yeah, so I would still rank this game in at more fun than actual go-karts.
Yeah, I mean, even with actual go-karts, you typically don't throw turtle shells and banana peels at each other. And I know there's like a billion YouTube videos of like Mario Kart in real life, but we're not doing that. That's not what we're doing.
No, it's not. Although I did hear as long as we're just off on a tangent. I did hear, and I don't know if this ever got like traction, but it's a really cool idea, which is like either they made it or they were planning on doing it like a go-kart track that actually worked like Mario Kart, which is to say like the go-karts were programs. That way when you like went over certain spaces, it would give you an item and then you could target another player with that item and then their go-kart would like power down. Like if you hit them with like a turtle shell or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's the technology to make something like that happen is not super complicated, right?
Yeah.
You would just have to have, some RFIDs and some, simple line of sight lasers. Like this is all, it'd be laser tag in go-karts, essentially. I mean, there's nothing complicated there, but man, it'd be fun. See, I would do.
Yeah, we managed to dig to the bottom and find the perfect unison of reality and the other. But yeah, so and I don't know if you want to talk about visuals too much more, but to put a final note on the visuals, I did feel that the visuals performed at or near expectations. They weren't they weren't viciously problematic, but they weren't anything to write home about, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, my only other thing with the visuals is not their quality, but these are hyper familiar characters, right? Like,
right.
And some of them just look weird. Like Mario looks a little thick. Yoshi looks absurdly thick. Peach is like kind of squat because they all have to fit into like a similar size box. And because that box is, I think, wider than it is tall, the heavy characters like Bowser and Donkey Kong Jr. look pretty much exactly the way you'd expect. And then Peach, who is noticeably taller and thinner than any of those other characters, looks like unnaturally squished.
Yeah. No, I didn't. That didn't really draw my eye that badly, but now that you mention it, I definitely remember that. And also, too, I don't know if this really fits in under visuals, kind of a little bit, and I'm sure this was a limitation of the system, but the number of character choices, like, I balked at, like, initially, because, again,
well, yeah,
64 and up, I was just kind of like, all right, man, I'm going to pick from one of 8 characters.
Eight, you say?
Oh, well, God, what did we lose a war? Like, where are all these other characters? Are they all fighting, like the whatever mushroom battles for shrooms? I guess I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
This one this is a tough call for me to gauge with my limited knowledge of storage on the system, because I suspect they could have put more characters and they would have just made them handle. You would have started to double up, So like, oh, these extra 4 characters handle like these existing 8 characters, but now you get 12. But they all have to be like hand animated, right? So you can look at any of those characters from almost any angle, which means every, say 5 degrees of rotation that is viewable, like they have to have a full suite of animations at that angle.
Right.
And that's
and that's, I'm sure,
just taxing.
Yeah. So like I said, like when I saw that, I was like, no, that makes sense. But again, like I said, it was amazing to me consistently how much I was projecting the other game onto this game.
Yeah. No, I mean that's now you know where your loyalties are.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
So let's talk about music.
The music, I agree with you in the sense that I actually have one of the songs running in my head right now, just from us, by virtue of us talking about it. So,
nice.
I think that the music is as iconic as if you played this game, you remember the music, Yeah,
I did feel like there were certain songs that when I heard them, I was like, oh yeah, that okay. And not like in a bad way, but kind of like ambivalent. Like, yeah, I remember this immediately. Like I could hum it, but I don't wake up with this song in my head. But then there were a couple other, so like the Rainbow Road theme, the track theme, like the same song that's used on all of the ones that actually look like racetracks. And then the Bowser one and the haunted, the Ghost Mansion, Ghost Palace. No, none of this is right.
Ghost House.
Yeah.
You went to Mansion and Palace before House, the thing that you own.
Oh no, super drunk right now. Anyway, Man, that would have made playing Mario Kart a whole different experience. Like that's a different podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like
No,
Mario
actually,
Kart
yeah, no,
drunk.
that's a great offshoot podcast idea. It's like drunk video gaming, and we should like exclusively pick like high response time games, like bullet hell games and stuff like that. Just
Ugh.
yeah.
I'm tired just thinking about that. But the so the Bowser Castle levels and the Ghost House levels, it's a different scoring of it, but it's the same music from Super Mario World, right?
Right.
So the Bowser music is the music that plays when you fight him at the very end of the game, and then the Ghost House music is just the Ghost House music. So they're no less iconic, but I mean they're iconic for a different reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the track theme and the Rainbow Road theme really, like, the second I heard them, I was like, yeah, no, this is good. These are going to be in my head for weeks. Awesome. The one thing that really made me like drag my fingernails down my face was because I always pretty much almost exclusively drive Koopa Troopa. I forgot how boring his victory music is. His victory music is so boring.
Oh, yeah, I didn't play as him, but what was it again?
It's like nah, 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 nah. Like it's awful. Like it's the Mitch McConnell of victory music.
Like basically, like it's just the music equivalent of sad trombone, where it's like just wah wah wah.
Yeah, you feel like, wait, didn't I win? Like why am I being punished with this sad melancholy tone?
Yeah, no, the not music, but the notes that I remember the most, and I think it's because I want to say that they continue to use these, is the music that plays right before you start every race,
Oh yeah, that little like drivers to your marks kind of music.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That. Every time I was just kind of like, oh yes, oh it's about to get real.
Yeah,
and
no,
so
that's a little pump riff. You're like, yeah, we're racing.
Yeah, and then like Lake 2 comes up and he's like, like red light, and then when that second red light goes, that's when you start hitting, then pushing the button, because that way you can get started. Like every player worth their salt knows, right?
Yeah,
and
another thing that they established from game number 1.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I definitely like remember that intensely. And the sound effect of you spinning out is very emotionally taxing to me, because like it's very similar to Sonic's drowning, where it's just like that sound links to a very specific emotion, because you never in the game hear that sound and are like, oh yay, it's all raining happiness right now. It's like, no, when you've heard that sound, it's because something horrible has happened to you. And so it's like very Pavlovian, because like I hear that sound, I'm like, oh, whoa, what now?
So this is something that I don't know which game they added this in, but I know that I became most aware of it in the Wii version of Mario Kart, which is you can drift in the later Mario Karts, and in Super Mario Kart you super can't.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, and if you turn too sharp for too long, then you spin out, and it's just a sad noise, and it's a sad time, and everybody passes you, and you feel like an idiot. And I'm gonna make like a really reductive, apocryphal version of this story, but the first time I played the Wii Mario Kart with Susan, who is freaking awesome at it, I just like I'm watching her do things that in my mind, since I'm thinking like, oh, it's like Mario Kart, are just like not things you can do.
Right.
So, I mean,
so you call hacks.
Like, yeah, motorcycles, and you can like do tricks and pop wheelies and like drift. And if you drift long enough, you get a boost, which is literally the opposite of my muscle memory.
Yeah.
So like that's a whole skill I had to build.
Yeah. No, and that's what I kept trying to do, was I was just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna do my drift, and then I'm just gonna, and then I like spun out. And I was like, oh, how do you function? I mean, it was very very similar to like if somebody says like, oh yeah, I don't have the internet, and you're like, I can't, what? Like how do you life then? Like how all of these things, So like when I realized I couldn't drift, I was like, I don't even know how to handle it. I don't even know how to drive now. Like somebody said like, no, do it. Just don't use the gas pedal. I'm like, okay, Like, please explain. You want me to Fred Flintstone this thing? Like, I don't know how to drive. So that was definitely, as far as gameplay goes, a huge struggle for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we might as well just segue right here because I don't think there's really anything else to say about the music other than playing as well as I surprisingly did when I got to the congratulations screen and it does the little fish and you pop it, with the champagne cork, and then it makes the kind of cartoony zoom noise and the congratulations bounces off the screen but it bounces with the music. So it always, because you can't make that part go faster. It's happening on its own little rhythm, and it comes in and it goes boop, 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 and it does it right on the beat. And I was just like, huh, I kind of want that as a ringtone or something. I was like, this, I'm getting a Pavlovian, yeah, I won. I'm a winner. A winner is me.
Yes, I have won. I am better than all of you. Look at how tall I stand over you, Donkey Kong. Take that. And actually, speaking of, no, this is great because this is both victory and going into gameplay. So something that I noticed, and this is understandable from a game design standpoint, which is that whoever you're racing as, right, there's going to be the number 2 person, and they're always coming in second unless you specifically derail them somehow.
Yeah,
they're your nemesis,
especially it's the worst in 50. So in 50cc, the finish order is almost always fixed,
right?
And then
exactly.
and then in 100 it's a little bit less fixed, but it's usually only one person out of order. And then in 150, because everybody's hyper violent, then it can change a little bit. But yeah, in the 50cc, it's oh, if you're this character, I can tell you the order every other character will finish in.
And that was something that I thought so I said, I knew that when I was playing, I was like, okay, the first race I came in first, Donkey Kong came in second. Donkey Kong is going to come in second regardless. But I think and it sounds like you're confirming this from your experience as well, is that if you're playing, let's just say Mario, it's always specifically Donkey Kong that comes in second.
Yeah, so for Koopa Troopa, it's Luigi, and then Yoshi, and then Princess, and then Mario, and Toad is last, Donkey Kong, and then Bowser, I guess, and then Toad.
Yeah. So I obviously didn't have the time to do this, or the patience, or the care, but I'm just interested to know, well, what does that say? That because the person that's always coming in second, that'd be your nemesis, right? So I think it was interesting, and I'm probably reading way too much into this, that Donkey Kong, they picked Donkey Kong as Mario's nemesis instead of Bowser, I
mean, technically, he has an older beef with Donkey Kong.
He does. I mean, because Donkey Kong got into the princess kidnapping business, but it's not even his current girlfriend anymore. It's that older chick that he used to date. I don't know why they can't bury that hatchet.
And this is Donkey Kong Jr., so he's carrying out the vendetta of his father. It's a sad story.
Oh, this is like Game of Thrones, where it's my father hated you and my father before him, for generations. And it's do you even remember what we're fighting about anymore? I mean, his name wasn't, it was Jumpman back then. He's not even he's got a different name, a new leaf, new chapter.
Yeah. I'm a different guy now.
No, that was some other guy. Yeah. No, I mean, it would be like holding a grudge for generations if you found a hair in your French fries at Wendy's, and then for generations not allowing your family to go to that particular restaurant.
I don't know if I'd equate kidnapping my old girlfriend to finding a hair in my French fries, but I mean, okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's just that level of okay, well, just scorched earth forever. And what was her name again?
Pauline.
Whatever happened to Pauline?
As far as I know, she's still hanging out with Donkey Kong.
She's got the Stockholm syndrome, and they just
up in that cage.
Let's get into that story.
This is something that I wonder because I think Super Mario Kart was the only Mario Kart game where you, the player, were the only one who could pick up items.
Yes, absolutely. And that threw me at first because I was just kind of like, oh no, this person's going over this cube before me. He's going to steal the item. And then he didn't get it and I did. And I used it to beat him to death. So that was satisfying.
Yeah. Well, but I think there's a chance, and I mean, I'd have to really hammer at the AI to see if I'm also reading too deep into this, but there's a chance that the person who is your nemesis because their superpower counteracts whatever you're good at. So like for Koopa Troopa, who handles very well and can like corner the best, his nemesis is Luigi, who can just randomly make himself invincible for an unlimited amount of time.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering like if like, so Mario, who's like generally kind of like an average character,
yeah,
like Donkey Kong Jr. I mean, obviously there's some theming happening there, but like he has the banana peel, and so like that's kind of like an average inconvenience to an average driver,
right?
So
as opposed to turning invincible, which is a horrid inconvenience.
Yeah. So because like with Koopa Troopa, if Luigi is like right on top of you, like you can like corner and pivot and kind of weave away from him. Whereas like if you were Bowser and you had to do that, you would just like careen off to your death. Like you couldn't pivot like that.
Right. No, that's interesting. I wonder. I mean, normally I'd say like, nah, but this is Nintendo. They're pretty on top of this sort of stuff. So
yeah,
I mean, very, very well. To speak on the, like I said before, is where it's like, one of the things I did feel was that everything for all of the future games is there, you know? But this to me, and don't take this personally, felt more like more of a hodgepodge of like, oh hey, isn't this neat? You know, as opposed to like, we're going to make a racing game, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of got like an original Smash Brothers feel.
Yeah.
It's like, we have this really good idea, but there were a few people in the company who weren't super on board. So like we didn't have all the funding we wanted, but we're pretty confident this is a good idea.
Yeah, it definitely had that feel because, you know, there's like the question mark boxes, those are there, you know, the different racing that's there, the different maps were there. But that was the other thing. It's like there were 5, 6 different maps, I think.
I mean, there's like 5 themes. And then,
that's what I'm talking about. Themes.
Yeah. So you have like racetrack theme, dirt road theme, ice theme, Bowser Castle theme, Ghost House theme. Am I missing one?
The one beach level, which completely threw me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, because I was just like, oh, beach level, right? Wow, this is. All right, cool. Yeah, I guess this is a thing. But yeah, so I was very surprised because in the 64 version and onwards, in each cup, it has all of its own courses, you know? Yeah. So for the Mushroom Cup, when I did the Mushroom Cup, I was like, okay, so we knocked out, you know, racetrack, Ghost House, so on and so forth. I was like, all right, that was fun. I was like, Fire Cup, Ghost House again. And then I don't know why I felt like slighted somehow. Like I was just kind of like, how dare you? And I was, you know, I just thought
this
about
is almost definitely a memory issue. Is they wanted to use the same tiles and the same music.
Oh, absolutely. And again, you know, it's definitely something where I was just like, I was expecting too much, and that's on me because, you know, and yeah, so that was fine, but it definitely threw me when I saw the Ghost House again because I was like, I thought I was done with this. I thought I didn't have to do this again because Ghost House is not any course where you can fall off the side is not my jam. Not
your thing.
Nope. I'm almost glad that I was unable to get to Rainbow Road.
No, that would have been a whole mess.
Just for my own like blood pressure, because I knew that I was like, if I can't do anything on 100cc, I was like, I'm pretty sure I won't unlock the special cup. And I was just kind of like, I might be okay with that. I might. This may be like the gating mechanic that they built in because they're like, if you can't get this far on it, you must be this skilled to ride this ride because otherwise you're going to be puking in every direction and just make your life and the lives of your family and friends miserable.
Well, and the thing I noticed about the ghost house in particular is it's the only place where you have a non-racetrack surface that is also not a giant pain in the ass to drive on. So the dirt one and the beach one are pretty annoying to drive on. The Bowser one, like your tires don't really grip, so you slide and spin out way easier. But for something, maybe it's just the way Koopa Troopa handles as well. But like the way he drives in the Ghost House is like a massive advantage over the other characters because you can corner for a long, long time before you will spin out.
Yeah, and that was the thing is that I just I was constantly slamming into walls, and the problem with the Ghost House is that when you slam into a wall, it goes away.
Yes, it does.
So you better not make that exact same mistake twice in a row. Now, to be fair, I do appreciate that more than the first time you make the mistake, you're boned. Like this was definitely like everybody gets one kind of a thing. So I liked that. The one mistake that I did make, and right when I did it, I was like, oh, no, that was a terrible idea at times, was like I was in second place, whomever was in front of me, and I had a green turtle shell, and I was like, this is it. This is my moment. This is where my story goes from good to great. And I fired it and missed, and then I saw it hit the wall and bounce off, and that tile disappear. And as that tile shrank, so did my hope of winning because it then bounced from wall to wall to wall to wall to wall, knocking out all of the walls. I was like, oh, God, I've just completely boned myself. And sure enough, I think I fell off the track like twice and then just burned a life to just go back in time and make that not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a Looney Tunes, like you fire a bullet and it just bounces all over. Like Yosemite Sam is like trying to get Bugs Bunny, but he's inside of like the stagecoach, and like the bullets are like bouncing all over inside. Like, you can't if you're relying on those bumpers at the bowling alley, like you can't cut chunks of them out. Like
no, exactly not. And it was just one of those things where immediately when I did, I was like, just terrible risk to reward, and mostly it was just because I didn't think it through, as most poor decisions that people make. But yeah, I was just kind of like, I was like, best case scenario, I was going to make this person spin out for about 3 seconds. Worst case scenario, which is what happened, is I have wiped out my safety net, which I'm the only one using. Like they're not bouncing into the walls, I'm bouncing into the walls, you know? So it's like, so I just, for best case scenario, a 3-second lead, I have made it so that way the game has now won. So I quit, because, you know, why not? You know, life favors quitters. But I thought it was interesting that when you do that, you explode.
You do. And you kind of like, you blink and then you pop into like a little riot of positive energy.
Yeah. It's kind of but that's the thing, is that to say you explode almost oversells it. You just kind of like poof into dust. You know what it's like? It's like when a gem poofs on Steven Universe.
Yeah, no, you totally poof.
Yeah, so headcanon accepted. So you poof back into your gem, right? And then you have to reform your cart and body, you know, in order to race again.
Well, that's why the screen goes dark, because you can no longer perceive the outside world. And then once you reform, you're like, oh, we're racing again? This is happening?
Yeah, so in this case, I guess the cart would be their gem, you know?
When you poof, doesn't the cart go with you?
It does. Yeah. But I don't know. I just like the idea of like, you know, you lose. And so then like you just poof and there's just this empty go-kart, you know, and then you just have to like reform. But yeah, you know, you're right. The go-kart comes with you.
So I'm not keeping like an explicit tally, but I just want to point out that on our podcast about old video games, we've now referenced Doctor Who, Steven Universe, and Dungeons and Dragons. So I feel like I should have on way thicker glasses. Like
no, I was gonna say like you're absolutely correct. We are behind on our ancillary references. We should be doing more.
Not going nearly fast enough.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. The like ability to kind of break the level not in your favor. I thought that was fascinating, and I'm curious. Did you ever hit yourself with the green turtle shell, or am I the only person that derped that hard?
No, I'm usually I'm an over the shoulder weapon thrower. So like I'll have banana peel or a green turtle shell, and I'm like, haha, screw you, and I'll like toss it behind me, because I seem like when you're a little kid learning to ride a bike, and your mom or dad or whoever is teaching you is like, don't stare at the mailbox, because then instead of avoiding the mailbox, you'll definitely hit the mailbox. And that's how I am with green turtle shells in Mario Kart. It's like, okay, I'm not going to hit that wall and have it ricochet back directly at me. And then I fire it, and then that happens. And I'm like, I don't know what I expected.
Oh, yeah. No, it didn't. It took me longer than I anticipated. And to be fair, I may be wrong on this, but I'm confident that I'm not, which is that I fired the turtle shell and it came like rocketing back at me. And I like managed to like duck weave, get out of the way. And I was like, yeah, pretty proud of myself. And then it just took one more lap for me to come back around for green turtle shell 2, turtle shell vengeance. This time it's personal. Yeah. And like, it just wiped me right out. And I was just kind of like, I felt like that was like some like horrid metaphor for like, like a dystopian life where it's just kind of like you fight all throughout your life, you fire green turtle shells and you may evade them sometimes, but eventually the green turtle shell gets you,
It's there's like a whole Buddhist philosophy here. Like your own violence came back to haunt you.
Exactly. Like, you just need to experience tranquility, just.
So this is an insidious thing about Bowser's level, because in the Ghost House levels, you can inadvertently destroy your safety net. But in the Bowser levels, there's very tight, very angular borders. Mm-hmm. So if you fire a green turtle shell and it doesn't hit something, it is going to become an agent of chaos until it strikes a surface. Because in like the racetrack levels and like the water levels, like there's places where it can like go way off, like where no one ever drives, and so it's only on the track part of the time. But in the Bowser Castle level, the thing is on the track only. There's nowhere else for it to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I luckily I didn't. By the time I was like doing Bowser Castle levels, I had like learned that Heavy wears the head that uses the green turtle shell. So. I had learned my lesson, and like if I got a green turtle shell, I would like put it down gently behind me and walk away.
Just sit over here, buddy.
Yeah, it's like no, it's fine. I am sure that there are responsible green turtle shell users that keep their green turtle shells in a safe, and like all of that. But
unloaded.
Unloaded. But I am not a responsible green turtle shell user. I did not attend any green turtle shell safety classes or anything like that. So I recognized that and stopped using them. The red turtle shells I was pretty solid with. And you can't
really screw those up.
Yeah, I was waiting for me to screw it up just so that way, like, to just show like, nah, man, I just can't make anything work. But your greater breadth and depth of knowledge about this game, and maybe you can enlighten me to what the point of the feather is.
Yes. So the feather serves one like really stupid purpose and then one really obviously superior purpose, which is you can use it to jump over obstacles, which is like, okay, just drive around them. Yeah. But the far more superior purpose is that most of the maps have a place where using the feather would be advantageous, and some of them have an area where using the feather is actually a full-on shortcut.
And I kept looking for those because I like vaguely, there was a small little gremlin in the back of my head that kept saying like, hey man, you know that can be used to find a shortcut. I'm like, but I don't know where it is. And so like of course every time I got it, like they kept giving it to me like it was this tool that was going to be my salvation in 7th place. And I was sure that if I had the wherewithal to like, It's like somebody like walking up to me and saying like, this magical machine is going to solve all of your programs because it makes gold. All you have to do is just plug in advanced calculus. And I'd be like, that's great.
I don't know advanced calculus.
Yeah, I can't. I didn't take differential equations. I knew I should have, but so it was like that where they kept handing me this thing. And I would just like immediately like use it out of spite, just like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it for the on the nose purpose of avoiding either an obstacle or if somebody launches something at you, you can jump it. But there are in I think 2 levels that I can think of. There are spots that are, if you look at them, like if you stopped and you looked, you'd be like, yeah, I can't possibly make that jump. But if I had a feather, and then in a bunch of the levels, you can totally like break the universe by jumping over the boundary. So like you don't jump outside the course, but you jump over the outside of the course, like near a corner. And it'll shave like a little bit off.
Oh yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, like in the first Ghost House is where it's the most obviously applicable because it shaves off like a non-trivial amount of the course.
Right.
But in most of the other places, it's just kind of like, I have a feather.
Yeah. So the feather, whenever I got that, I'd get a little frustrated. The star I thought was a particularly, at least from my point of view, humorous thing because you'd normally get a star when you're like in 8th place, right?
Right.
And so it makes you invincible and it makes you go super fast, which are both great, unless you've been playing poorly enough to get into 8th place, in which case you just basically, like took somebody who's like kind of, going through puberty, like not really sure of like where their body is in relation to themselves. It's like, what you need? PCP. And so, so I was just like, yeah, I'm powered up. And I'm just like slam into even more walls at a higher speed. And like, eventually when I feel it start to wear off, I would just find another racer out of spite and just run into them because even though that wasn't going to put me in first, it was going to make them not be in 6th, So yeah, that was my experience with the star. I was just kind of like, I'm sure this is a useful tool for somebody who is not in my current predicament. Ironically, being in my current predicament is the only way to get this tool.
Well, and it's one of those things that you're most likely to get on a level you suck at. So, like, you get a lot of stars on Rainbow Road if you're not awesome at Rainbow Road, which is literally the worst level to have the star on because your acceleration is like set to max and you just go rocketing off into oblivion.
Yeah, that is like, to me, the video game just equivalent of, something that just seems like a great idea on paper and then completely falls apart in like execution, where it's just kind of like,
the regular racetrack levels, the star is friggin' awesome because there's like margin of error. You can go off into the dirt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing is that, again, that further like goes with it because it's like, hey, we've got this issue. So what we're going to do is like, the problem is that this person's falling behind. So we'll speed them up. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's try it out. And you try it out on a couple of the racetrack levels. And you're like, it's working. Done. Seal of approval. And then all of a sudden it just smash cuts to you on Rainbow Road. Just like, oh God, why? So and don't get me wrong. Like the biggest part of this was that I was bad at the game. Like that's, let's not discount that, like that's to me where the hilarity comes in. And so then the one time I got the lightning bolt and I was disproportionately happy.
Now that weapon's the bomb.
Yeah. No, I felt like, and if you want to put another tick mark on the board, I felt like Zoidberg when he like gets like hit by like a growth ray to fight like grown Bender, he's like, oh, who's intimidating who now, city? Like, like I was like, the little man's finally getting his, although I was Mario. So,
although that's the second Futurama reference. And we also talked about faster than light travel. So we're doing good. I'm not as worried about us as I was before.
Had to keep them coming. Also too,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I thought that the there was a distinct difficulty spike between the 50 and 100cc. I don't think it was an unfair or unreasonable difficulty spike, but it was significant. It was non-trivial.
Yeah, I noticed because I mean everybody drives faster, right? Like you actually have a larger CC motor, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean it's not just like a naming convention. Like you do actually perform, differently. Which you have to adjust to because you accelerate different, you top out different, you corner different because you're going faster. The thing that was actually giving me the most grief was, and it was more like an emotional burden, not that it was actually impacting my ability to win, is Yoshi and Luigi. So when you're Koopa Troopa, Luigi typically second, Yoshi typically third, but if you interact with either of them, they will quickly overtake each other. So I ended up in a couple races with Yoshi just hot on my heels and just sacrificing his unborn children to try and punish me. I'm talking because like when somebody right behind you throws one of their weapons, it like goes into rear view mirror mode.
Mm-hmm.
There was one race, I think it was on like one of the donut plains or whatever, one of the like sandy ones where I didn't have the map like almost the entire race because he was just behind me, just like, I'm gonna kill you. I hate you.
I'm coming for you.
and this is actually what reminded me that there's a memory shortage of items that can be deployed to the map at any one time. And so like the map can't just be littered with like 1,000 green turtle shells.
As hilarious as that would be.
Yes. And I don't know if they built this in as a safety mechanism or if it's actually like a memory limitation, but at one point he was throwing eggs at me so fast that I was able to see other eggs he'd thrown at me bamfing out of existence because it was like resetting the counter. I was just like, what crazy loop am I stuck in that he is being this hyper violent?
Well, and I like that though, because like in my mind, like he's like throwing these eggs at you. Like he's got like his like clutch of eggs in the back, right? So he like throws, and like he reaches back and like he's like angry, and he reaches back and he's like he sees nothing, and you see him just like hold his hand out and like with sheer anger like summon another egg. Like you see it like disappearing from the course, and like his eyes are wild, and he just like throws another one at you, and it's like, wow, you really, really did not want me to win this race that we're all apparently putting aside our differences and taking parts in.
Yeah, no, Yoshi was the most psychotically violent in my replay. Although Luigi and Mario, to a lesser extent, they both have the ability to turn on their invincibility. And sometimes you'll be just like sort of neck and neck with them. And this like feeling of panic kind of creeps over you because you're like, at any second they might just Hulk out and then sideswipe me, and there's going to be nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, that's going to be the story of you. Like you just got into a bad situation this one time. And I do want to talk about this kind of meta thing, which is the idea that they have all put aside their differences to race go-karts together, like.
Yeah, I mean, I always took the sport side games like with a big old grain of salt, but if I recall correctly, what's his name? Miyamoto, I think, actually confirmed that they're canon. Like these events actually do take place.
Yeah, and I like the theory that because there's a theory that like Super Mario, right? The original one for the NES.
Like the OG, yeah.
Yeah, the OG Mario. Is that was the event. That was like the thing, right? And then there's Super Mario 2 that nobody talks about. And then there's no, that's all Mario's dream, right?
Right.
And then there's Super Mario 3, which is all a play about the events in Mario, right? So then these are all like actors, like on their day off. So like this could have been like a team building exercise, So
this isn't Mario and Bowser. This is a guy who happens to look like Mario, so he got the part, and a guy who happens to look like Bowser, so he got the part.
Well, another giant dinosaur that happened to look like Bowser.
He's a Japanese turtle like lake spirit or something. Yeah, I don't think that's canon, but if there's a culture shock YouTube video that shows the incredibly obvious like source material that Bowser is drawn from. I mean, it's like they didn't even like try to hide it. Like,
Nice.
if you know this stuff about Japanese culture, you would just be like, oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah, it's the spirit. So the reason why I bring all of that up is to link back to what you were saying about Yoshi. So like Yoshi is the cast member with like significant anger issues, you know? And so like you're all doing like this like team building exercise where you're all just like hanging out and like riding some go-karts, and he's like, no, I have to win. It's like, Yoshi, it's not about winning, it's about like relaxing. And he's like, no, and he just starts, you know, throwing like his children at you. So and he's also the only one who brought children. I mean, come on, Yoshi. Like it's an office thing, that's fine. This wasn't for your kids, you know, this was for adults.
Yeah, I mean, it's dangerous. It was like,
obviously, like you can fall into lava at any point.
although you do bounce back from lava and like cool island seawater exactly equally well.
Yeah, no, it's disturbing how, like you said, like just how easily like because when you fall into the water, it does a little like ploop, you know, and you fall into the thing, and then Lake 2 comes and fishes you out. And then when you fall into molten lava, it goes ploop, and Lake 2 comes. Like it's as unceremonious as it is to fall into water. It's just kind of like ploop. Oh yeah, no, what happened? I slipped and fell into some lava yesterday. So, you know, $20 for AAA to come fish me out. It's like
this actually is lending a lot of credibility to your insane headcanon that these are the actors from Super Mario Brothers 3, like on a team building, like offsite retreat, because well, it's not real lava. It's just like red water.
Yeah.
It just looks like lava.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it like helps them like get into character. You know, it's like, oh no, like maybe it's like it's warmed up a little bit. You know, because like I get the feeling that like Bowser's a method actor. You know,
definitely. you don't wear all that makeup and not like really be into what you're doing.
No, I'm sure that like, you know, he had to take classes on like how to wear all of that makeup all the time. You know, because like I'm sure it gets like oppressive.
You know who it is in there. Definitely Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman. I was going to say Jim Carrey because of The Grinch. You know, I thought that he could.
Yeah, another person who puts up with way too much makeup.
Yeah, oof. There you go. But
so I keep meaning to mention this at the Bowser Castle levels. Did it annoy you that the thwomps are like cylinders without spikes?
Yes.
It's super annoying.
Yeah, and also their size, and this was something that was kind of an issue on all the levels, but particularly on the Bowser castles. Their size was unimpressive, and I know it's not the size of the thwomp, you know, but like they just, I don't know why, because like thwomps in all of the other games, they're terrifying, you know?
Yeah, they're
and
massive.
In this one, they were just kind of like, hey man, don't come through here. Hey, don't. Dude, go around, you know. And it's like I don't know. I wasn't intimidated by. I was frustrated by them when like all of a sudden their cylindrical butts would just plop themselves down in front of me and be like, you're not going to get by here. And I'm like, and every time my brain was like, no, it's a better idea to wait for them to start going up than to try to go around because you'll spend less time. And every time that was the wrong decision.
Well, I mean, your theory is correct. Your execution was poor.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the fact that they were cylinders as opposed to having spikes, I thought was very, very weird. And then, like I said, like the fact that they were so small in relation to you / the level, I just didn't care for that visual like at all.
Yeah.
So.
And then I know you didn't make it to Rainbow Road, but there are thwomps on Rainbow Road, and they're invincible.
Not remember that.
Oh, they're invincible too.
Oh God!
So not only can they crush you, but you can't touch them.
So in every class, or not in every class, but in a lot of classes, like the professors say like, oh, well, I put a bunch of different questions on test, but I put some questions on there so hard that nobody should get them. So that way it like scales the class, right? Rainbow Road is the question that nobody should get right, Like they just put this in here to be like, oh yeah, like this game's too easy. Beat this, and then of course people did, but it's just like, no, we're gonna make swamps invincible. I thought swamps were already invincible. No, it's gonna be worse.
Yeah, just no. Now when you touch them, they kill you.
Yeah, it's supposed to before when you touch them, they shrank you like in like the normal game. Like now they're going to really be a problem. They were a problem. Now they're a serious problem. And you're like, no, that's great. Do you have any personal canon, like head canon on like where Rainbow Road is? Because all of the other aesthetics, like you can point to an area in Mario and be like, this is from like this area, world, whatever. But
special zone, it's the Star Road.
Oh yeah, I guess it would be Star Road.
I gotta pat myself a little bit on the back for that because I literally never gave that consideration until this moment. So I'm pretty happy with how quickly I put that together.
Yeah, Star Road, duh. It's like, no, that holds up.
Yeah, because I mean, let's see. So you have you've got like the beachy levels, which are just like any water level. The Bowser Castle and the ghost houses are pretty obvious. The racetrack isn't from anything in Mario, but it's got your generic kind of
World 1 kind of.
Yeah, here's your World 1-1. The dirt one, like that's all muddy, I think is actually the one that's supposed to be themed like a generic Super Mario level, because that's the one that has like the mole things.
Well, aren't there like, if I remember correctly, I think it was World 6, 5, I forget, in Super Mario World, where you're like, I remember the entire like backdrop being like muddy and like very chocolatey earth tones. And I think they might have called it like chocolate something. I always thought like that was that, because I think those mole people are there too.
Yeah, there's the big moles that are underground, and then there's the little moles that are in the very first level. Like they come around really early, and they might also be in the chocolate plains, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole game is loosely Super Mario World themed.
And that's one of the things that I really felt too was kind of a thing where it was just kind of like, they're like, look at what we did, this fun Super Mario World, themed go-kart racing. But it was way more about relying on your love of Super Mario World than creating a tight racing game. Like for me personally, and obviously you didn't struggle with this nearly as much as I did, the turning controls, I just could not get down to a science. Like every time I did it, it was like reinventing the wheel. And so like I was like, okay, well, what if I go a little bit slower and like tap acceleration and tap the turn button to kind of like slowly inch myself around? And then that didn't work. So I was like, what if I do like a hard turn and try to skid and drift? Then that wasn't a mechanic yet. So I was just kind of like I said, like I felt that those controls weren't incredibly, or at least they were much tighter in later games when they actually seemed to focus on like, let's make a good racing game that's Mario themed. This was like, let's make a Mario themed racing game. That was just my own personal opinion.
I don't know every game ever made, but I think that this game may be the first of its type, by which I mean it is not a racing game, it is a kart racing game, which always has very different handling, very different physics, very different like rubber band physics is present in like every kart racing game I've ever seen. And then a proper racing game, if you play like Gran Turismo or Forza or something, like it doesn't matter how big of a lead you have, the second place guy should not suddenly be able to break the speed of light. Like,
yeah.
Whereas in like that is a staple of kart racing games, like including in the original Super Mario Kart. Like you are doing really well, and you look at like the little mini map or something, and you're like, huh, the guy in second and third place is going unreasonably fast just because I'm doing a good job. So there's like, and on the one hand, I agree with you, like the controls are weird, but I feel like they were different on purpose from what they were trying to do with like arcade racing games where they wanted it to feel more realistic. And then over, the generations, they nailed down like, okay, this is what makes kart racing fun, not necessarily authentic driving.
Yeah, and like I said, it was definitely my inability to handle the controls where I was just like, they just felt loose. But I'm sure that I could have eventually given enough time, and also not knowing, like how now racing games or kart racing games handle. Like I could have grasped it. It just took a little bit longer. One thing though that Mario 64 did, and this one does as well, that the newer ones don't do, which I really like, which is that these, like, that you're more likely to get a more powerful item like a star or whatever, a lightning bolt, if you're in last place, and less likely, you're more likely to get like, whatever, banana peel when you're in first place. But even if you get a star and you're in last place, you still have to use the star well and then continue to play well. And you can probably potentially inch your way back up to first, right? In the newer ones, it's like if you're lagging behind, then you get the to hell with everybody. Like, I am now the bullet bill god, Bullet Billington, and just destroying, like, seeing my enemies laid waste before me. And I never liked that, because I was just kind of like, so I have been playing an incredibly good, tight game this entire time, and now I have to deal with this idiot behind me who was in 8th place, who's just going to come and like wreck me. So that way the person who's in 2nd place is now going to be in 1st place. I never really liked any of that, and this game definitely did not do that.
No. Well, and in the later games, the enemies can also get those weapons. So. Right. Like, you get Bullet Bill when you're trying to have fun and you're like, yeah, I got Bullet Bill and that's helping me have a better time. You are doing well, and the computer knocks your ass into oblivion disguised as a giant monster bullet, and you're like, now I am having less fun.
Yeah. And I actually saw a presentation on why they do the big bill whatever thing and stuff like that. It's the idea is that tight races are more fun than not tight races. And I agree with that in principle, but I would say that fair races are more fun than not fair races. And like, literally, when you're playing a game and you are a skill-based game where your skill is clearly superior, and they say like, no, that's fine. We're going to give this guy all this stuff to like bring their skill up to yours. It's like, that'd be fine, except for the fact that I talked a lot of smack before we were playing this game, and you're giving him reason to call me out with, like, to say that we're of equal skill when we are clearly not. So I do like that this older game, like, if you were in last place, they gave you an item that gave you the ability to get back into first if you played skillfully, not that put you in first, like, period.
For funsies. Yeah. I mean, there was also in, I don't think it was in the 64 one where they introduced the blue turtle shell. Was it? That come later?
It was. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
It was, but the nice
crap.
thing.
Total crap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the blue turtle shell is crap, but if I remember correctly, and I played I played the SNES version, let's say at a 5. I played the N64 version at a 10, and then each decreasing one by by the square root of the one following. So then the one behind that was like a 3, and then 1.5, and then, so on and so forth down the line. So, but I do remember occasionally playing some of the newer ones and just, getting landmine. But like with the blue turtle shell, it would come up to you and hit you. But if you had a green turtle shell just behind you, it would hit the green turtle shell and wouldn't kill you. It wouldn't knock you out. So there was counterplay there. Now the blue turtle shell flies through the air and drops directly down on top of you. And I've been told there is counterplay to that, but I saw it done once on YouTube, and I was like, okay, so there's counterplay to it in the same way that sword dancers can, can get out of sword related situations. I was like, yes, it is technically true, but not really for my purposes. I will never have that level of skill, nor would I expect an average player to have it.
This episode is making me super bummed that we don't do funny titles from things said in the episode, because I would have definitely just cast a vote for sword related situations.
Hey, you never know, man. Like you just walk down the street and then all of a sudden somebody comes at you. It's like, hey, I have 5 swords and I need you to juggle them. And I'm like, I got, I knew I should have majored in sword dancing. I went with chemistry. What was wrong with me?
All my life has been building to this moment.
Sword related mishaps, but yeah.
No, I mean, I know you can like the simplest way to get out of the blue turtle shell nonsense, and I'm sure there are others, but if you have a mushroom and you time it just right, it still strikes the ground, but it strikes the ground where you no longer are by like a millisecond.
Nice.
So yeah,
and I don't think that's what I saw. I forget what the.
Yeah, you can like jump, and there's other like weird ways to cheat it, which I think are more like glitches, whereas the mushroom thing is actually like the way to counter it.
Right.
And you feel like a freaking like cool guys don't look at explosions, like, 'cause you go like speeding off.
Yeah. No, I mean that would be, I imagine, to be very empowering. But like I said, like the last, and I have never played any of the Mario Party games, but I've heard tell of them.
Yeah,
and
don't bother.
Yeah, and exactly. And I feel like the newer Mario racing games seem to be coming more in line with what I've heard with the Mario Party games, which is that it's like everybody gets to win. Sometimes it's just like, so we're all losing because we're all playing a game where it's just a random number generator, and whoever gets the number 4 wins the game this time,
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the original Super Mario Kart, like one of the things that I really noticed, and this will kind of take us into our final, like, does it hold up, is I felt like my victories were my victories and my failures were my failures. And that is why I could happily sit and play this game in single player for an extended period. Right. So what I didn't say before is when my friend and I were playing this game literally into all hours of the night, we were not playing battle. We were handing off. So like,
nice.
He would play a cup and then I would play a cup and then he would play a cup and then I would play a cup. So like, because the game is actually fun single player if you enjoy this kind of game. Whereas like starting around, I want to say at least the GameCube one, but maybe like the Wii one, they really, really put the emphasis on multiplayer, which is fine. But like sitting down and playing Super Mario Kart Wii or the Wii U one on single player is you're basically just practicing for when you're playing against other humans.
Yeah, I definitely think that, like, does the game hold up? I would say yes, in the sense that it is definitely still very playable. I did not enjoy it, but I think that, like I said, it was because I was constantly projecting this other game onto it, and then expecting it to, like I said, like I just kept thinking like, oh, there's no more stairs at the end of the stairwell, and then like dropping a sudden foot and being like having that small heart attack moment. Like I think that was something that I struggled with a lot. So I would say, do you need nostalgia goggles to play it? No, but I would say that if you haven't played it in a while, put the nostalgia goggles on, play for like 2 hours. Then now that your eyes have adjusted to, the nostalgia conditions, you can take them off and then you're fine, Yeah.
No, I can feel that. Cause I mean, I most recently played, I want to say 8, I think the newest one. And I mean, those are polar opposite experiences, right? Like, brand new, all the weird new gimmicks versus the original game. But I could see how, it's like you bite into a steak and you think it's a pork chop. It doesn't matter how good the steak is. Like you were expecting pork chop and you're going to be like, what is wrong with this pork chop? Oh, it's a steak. But you can't then say, oh, and it's a fantastic steak because like you're totally miscalibrated. So, if you look back at your childhood and you're like, I spent a lot of hours playing Double Dash on the GameCube at my friend's house, I'm going to play the Super Nintendo one. It's like, you're coming into this from the wrong angle.
Yeah. And that's why I think that, you need to play for a couple of hours to reacclimate yourself to the actual game that you're playing, because the other games are this basic game, but, tooled up, reskinned a little bit, like polished, new mechanics added. But like it's close enough that your brain is going to keep telling you like, nah, man, you should totally be able to do thing A. And you're like, no, I can't, brain, but it doesn't change from your hands trying to do it. So yeah, I'd say like, once adjusted to the correct lighting conditions, you do not need the nostalgia goggles, but put them on at first because it'll make your initial experience a lot easier.
Yeah, I feel you on that. So next time I'm thinking we should play Zelda The Wand of Gamelon.
I hate everything I love. Why do you torture me like this? No, it's fine. It's fine because the Buddha teaches us that pain stems from want, and I am in constant pain because I want to play Link to the Past. You won't let me do it.
I'm sure that's one of the steps to enlightenment.
Yeah, is not being not being allowed to play Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Like I think that was the 4th. I remember Siddhartha Gautama sitting underneath the tree and talking about A Link to the Past. I'm pretty sure that's in there somewhere. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna fact check or reference this in any way, but I'm confident saying that yes, definitely that was the case. Yeah. In fact, I could definitely tell you for sure that is true. As long as you have absolutely no follow-up questions, then yes, that is a fact. There it is. We got another Simpsons reference in there. I think we're good. I think we hit our arbitrary quota of tertiary geekery.
Excellent. Sounds good. So next time.
See you next time.
The curtain falls. The music plays. The credits roll, then it all fades to black. And you're left by yourself. The fanfare is gone. There's no player 2 there by your side to share victories won. But as you slowly progress down the hall to your bed, a few great events leak back into your head from the time that you spent traversing the land, battling evil, fighting the darkness, just sword in hand. Your memories creeping with the edge of a smile. You realize again what you lost for a while. You're gonna think back much less on how you saved the day than on all the experience gained. At the end of it all, gamers play what we play. Not for game over, but rather for what we take away. The world is sad, but who cares? We all know that that's not what you came for. Your next adventure's already in sight. You're all set to go. You're excited to see what's all wrong till it's right, and the world is safe. So you're more along for the ride.